Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, let's jump straight into this because today we're breaking down a masterclass in audience building. We are looking at the wild journey of Dan and Chris Powers. They're the brothers behind the massive hit hockey channel, Empty Netters. But listen, here's the secret right out of the gate. You don't need to know absolutely anything about ice hockey to get a ton of value out of this explainer today. We're taking their raw experiences, the struggles, the big wins, and we're distilling them into a highly practical playbook for all creators. So whether you're trying to build a personal brand, launch a newsletter, or start a whole new channel, the lessons these guys learned in the trenches are they're pure gold.
So here's the game plan. We've organized this playbook into 4 distinct strategic pillars: navigating the platform jungle, the idea dump strategy, the goldfish memory rule, and finally, why speed always wins.
All right, let's hit pillar number 1, navigating the platform jungle, navigating the chaos.
Let's start by just acknowledging the reality of the internet right now. It is chaotic. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed trying to figure out where to post or how to post, you are definitely not alone. It's totally normal. In fact, the biggest initial challenge the Empty Netters faced wasn't the hockey content itself. They already knew hockey. It was this relentless, exhausting grind of feeling like they were building the airplane while already flying it. Like Dan and Chris pointed out, there are just so many moving parts. You have to figure out what actually moves the needle versus what is just pure noise. And on top of that, you have to curtail and customize your content for the specific rules and audiences of each unique platform. Because, as we all know, what blows up on one platform will probably flop on another. And this isn't just a one-and-done thing. It is a constant, ongoing learning process. You're just learning on the fly.
Okay, moving right along to section 2, the idea dump strategy, consistent ideation.
So, when you ask them how they plan out their next 3, 4, or 5 videos, the brothers are the first to admit they have a bit of a built-in advantage. Because they covered the NHL, the league naturally hands them a baseline of content, right? There are always new games, crazy trades, controversies. The news cycle is always churning. But here's the catch. Simply reciting the news is never enough to stand out or build a really engaged community. The actual creative heavy lifting, that comes from inventing fresh, fun formats. Notice how they prioritize keeping things light. They play games, they do trivia stuff. It's all about taking that baseline information and injecting pure entertainment value into it.
But how do you actually manage all those fun ideas without totally burning out? Well, they use this brilliant, simple system they call the idea dump. Here's how it works. Step 1. Anytime they see a cool video from another creator or even just have a random thought pop into their heads, they capture it. Step 2. It goes instantly into a shared document. No filtering, no self-judgment, just literally dump it in there. And then, step 3, when it's actually time to sit down and map out their content calendar, they just cruise through that document to find something fun to shoot. By systematizing their random burst of inspiration into one central hub, they make sure they never run out of concepts. It completely cures that awful dread of staring at a blank page.
Which brings us to section 3, the goldfish memory rule, handling failure. Now, let's get real for a second, because every single creator hits this roadblock. You are going to face internet hate, and you are going to have ideas that you think are absolute genius, completely bomb. When a video tanks, or when the comments just get vicious because they didn't praise someone's favorite team enough, their strategy is incredibly simple. Have the memory of a goldfish. You just have to instantly move on. You stay true to yourself, you keep making new stuff, and you refuse to let it faze you. You literally cannot dwell on yesterday's flop if you want to make tomorrow's hit. But okay, what happens when you really truly believe in a concept and it's just not hitting? One of the brothers actually admitted that sometimes he'd come up with a social idea, and when it didn't work immediately, he'd stubbornly want to just run it into the ground forever, mostly just to prove a point and be kind of petty. So to fix that, they instituted this phenomenal piece of discipline called the 3 tries rule. It's exactly what it sounds like. You give a struggling idea exactly 3 attempts. If they run it 3 times and it's still crickets, they force themselves to drop it and grab a new idea from the idea dump. It is such a perfect compromise, right? You get to believe in your creative vision, but you're also respecting the feedback your audience is giving you.
All right, let's bring it home with section 4, why speed always wins. Agility for creators.
Early on, the brothers were totally stuck on approach 1. They wanted to do all this deep research, get everything fully prepped, and release these highly polished, perfect videos. But then, a creator friend pulled them aside and gave them some much-needed blunt advice. Stop over-prepping and just get it up. In today's digital game, speed is everything. So now, they rely on approach 2. If a massive, groundbreaking trade happens in the NHL, they do not wait until they're back in their fancy studio. Nope. Even if they're traveling, they will literally crack open their laptops, record a raw, unfiltered reaction on Zoom, and publish it right then and there. In a world where everyone has access to the exact same tools, reacting quickly is almost always going to beat reacting perfectly. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Wait, doesn't that mean sacrificing quality? But here's the thing, speed and depth are not a zero-sum game. When a huge event happens, they'll upload that quick 10-minute raw reaction video just minutes later. That captures all the search traffic and that immediate, crazy energy. But then the very next day, they release their full, highly researched podcast with all the in-depth analysis. They actually use the quick-hitter video to promote the deep dive podcast. You can win the moment by being first today, and you can win the long game by being comprehensive tomorrow. It's an absolutely brilliant 1-2 punch.
So let's wrap all this up into the ultimate creator playbook. The roadmap is right here. First off, you've got to adapt to platforms on the fly. Just embrace the chaos of the learning process. Second, capture everything. Funnel every little spark of inspiration right into your shared idea dump. Third, have the discipline to allow an idea only 3 tries, and if it fails, embrace that goldfish memory and move on. And finally, when something big happens in your space, react fast and analyze later. And what's really incredible about this playbook is that it completely transcends hockey. Whether your niche is personal finance, software development, or even competitive knitting, these 4 rules are the absolute foundation for building an audience anywhere on the internet.
Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. Look, the fear of failure stops so many of us from sharing our voices. It just does. But knowing that you only have to commit to 3 tries for any given idea, and knowing that the most successful creators actively practice having the memory of a goldfish when things go wrong, what is actually stopping you from hitting publish today? Grab that idea dump, pick your best concept, and just get it out into the world. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer today, and I'll see you next time.